What if I told you that some engines were designed so badly, so painfully, so unbelievably wrong that mechanics still talk about them like war stories? Engines that overheat for no reason, engines that drink oil like water, engines that destroy themselves at 50,000 miles, and engines so over-engineered that even professional technicians said, "Nope, I'm not touching that." Today, we're looking at the 10 worst engine designs of all time. The engines that frustrate owners, bankrupt dealerships, and give mechanics headaches every time one rolls into the shop. Let's get into the mechanical disasters. 10. Chrysler 2.7L V6, the sludge monster. Our list begins with a legend. A dark legend. The Chrysler 2.7 V6 was supposed to be a modern, reliable engine. Instead, it became famous not for power, not for efficiency, but for turning clean motor oil into black sludge. Tiny oil passageways, poor ventilation, and a weak PCV system meant the engine basically cooked its own oil. Even drivers who changed oil on time still watched their engines die early. Mechanics had a saying, 2.7 Chrysler, don't bother changing oil, just start saving for a new engine. This engine wasn't just bad, it was a premature death sentence for thousands of cars. 9. Ford 1.0L EcoBoost, the EcoBomb. Ford marketed the EcoBoost 1.0 as the future. Small, efficient, powerful. But instead of boosting cars, it boosted repair bills. The biggest flaw? A coolant system so poorly designed that engines overheated, cracked, and blew head gaskets without warning. The coolant pipes corroded. The water pumps failed. Some engines outright exploded. Drivers would open their hood and find coolant everywhere except inside the engine. Ford eventually redesigned the components, but by then, the damage was done. This tiny engine tried to change the world, and instead became a symbol of tiny engine, gigantic problems. 8. Subaru EJ25, the head gasket. King Subaru lovers are loyal, but even they admit this engine was cursed. The 2.5-liter EJ25 had one weakness so well known that entire Facebook groups exist just to complain about it. Head, gasket, failure, oil leaks, coolant leaks, overheating, combustion leaks, you name it. This engine leaked it. Boxer engines already run hot, but Subaru used poor gasket materials and questionable torque specs. The result? Owners got used to topping up coolant like it was windshield washer fluid. Eventually, Subaru fixed it, but the early EJ25 remains the poster child of blown head gaskets. 7. Toyota 3VZE, the iron snail. Even Toyota, the king of reliability, has made mistakes, and the 3VZE V6 was one of the biggest. This engine was slow, painfully slow. You pressed the gas, and the engine responded with a soft, "Let me think about it." It also had constant head gasket failures, so many that Toyota had to issue a huge recall. Truck owners joked that the engine had two gears, slow and slightly less slow. It was heavy, underpowered, inefficient, and disappointing. A rare Toyota failure. 6. Audi 2.7 bi-turbo, the over-engineered nightmare. On paper, the Audi 2.7 twin-turbo was brilliant. In reality, it was a mechanic's worst nightmare. Twin turbos buried deep inside the engine bay, dozens of vacuum lines, complex cooling systems, terrible access, and sensors everywhere. Almost any repair required removing the entire front end of the car. Timing belt, remove bumper, remove radiator, remove half your will to live. The engine performs beautifully, but working on it is like solving a Rubik's Cube, blindfolded, while upside down. This engine proves one thing. More engineering does not always mean better engineering. 5. Cadillac Northstar V8, the leaking luxury disaster. Elegant on the outside, chaos on the inside. The Northstar V8 was powerful and smooth, but the structural flaws were unbelievable. The head bolts were too weak and too short for the aluminum block. As the engine aged, the bolts pulled out, destroying the threads and taking the head gasket with it. Once this happened, the engine became unrepairable without major surgery. And if that wasn't enough, they leaked oil, they leaked coolant, they overheated, they destroyed water pumps. One mechanic said, "Working on a Northstar funds my retirement." The engine was ahead of its time, but also ahead of its own destruction. 4. BMW N63, twin-turbo V8, the millionaire's money pit. If the Northstar was bad, BMW said, "Hold my beer." The N63 is one of the most problematic engines ever put into a luxury car. Heat problems, timing chain stretch, valve stem seal failures, carbon buildup, injector failure, turbo meltdown, crazy oil consumption. It had everything except reliability. The engine runs hot enough to fry eggs on the valve covers, and heat kills everything inside. BMW eventually had to create a customer care package, replacing huge parts of the engine for free. Translation: we messed up a lot. Beautiful engine, terrible durability. 3. Renault 1.2 TCE, the oil evaporator. This engine is relatively new, but it has earned a historic reputation for self-destruction. The problem? The engine burned oil so fast that owners didn't even notice until it was too late. By the time drivers realized the oil was missing, the bearings were gone, the pistons were scarred, and the engine was finished. Renault said it was normal usage. Mechanics said, this engine thinks oil is a snack. Software updates came too late. Thousands of engines died young. 2. Volkswagen 2.0 TSI, early models, timing chain chaos. The early 2.0 TSI is a perfect example of how one small mistake can destroy an entire engine line. The timing chain tensioner was flawed. Not weak, not unreliable, flawed. It could fail at any mileage, 20K, 40K, 70K, and when it did, the chain skipped or snapped. The result? Pistons slam into valves. Engine instantly destroyed. No warning, no mercy. Mechanics learned to identify the sound. A small rattle, followed by big trouble. Volkswagen eventually fixed the tensioner, but thousands of engines were lost. 1. GM 3.6L V6 LY7 LLT, the oil-burning catastrophe. And now, the king of terrible engines. This GM V6 looks modern and powerful, but it hides fatal flaws. Timing chains stretch ridiculously fast. Oil consumption is catastrophic. The PCV system fails. Carbon buildup destroys performance. Repairs require half the engine to be removed. Overheating kills the heads. Mechanics hate this engine, hate it. Some timing chain repairs cost more than the value of the vehicle. The LLT version, with direct injection, added even more problems. This engine wins number 1 because it's not just bad. It's consistently, reliably, predictably bad. A masterpiece of what not to do in engine design. Which engine do you think is the worst ever made? Tell me in the comments. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel,